And welcome to another edition of South Texas Crossfire. This is Attorney Joe Flores reminding you to join us each and every week right here on KTMB with the Lopez family. Special thanks to Don Humberto Lozano Lopez. He passed away in 2011, but he's honored, he's venerated, he's never forgotten. And my good friend Carlos Lopez, you guessed it, the Ted Turner of South Texas Broadcasting. With me today, I have someone who's running to be your next Congresswoman right here in South Texas, and she's been campaigning hard, and after a resounding victory in the primary, is demanding that everybody get out to vote, and she asks respectfully that you come out and cast your vote for her. I give you none other than Rose Meza Harrison. How are you?
Thank you, Joe. Very good. Thank you for having me today.
You come out, you have little sniffles and
yes,
things. You look
I'm
like $1,000,000. Don't worry about it. I was out in Odom, in the rural areas, providing some health care with my wife, and we saw in Odom, Taft, we saw your signs everywhere.
Yes, we're trying to get the word out. Yes.
Yeah, and it's not false advertisement. This is you. No airbrush. You're right.
No, yes, no airbrush.
Well, anyway, I'm very excited about your campaign.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit, for those who see your signs everywhere, who know that you're running strong in the Democratic Party, about your education, training, and background, and especially your family.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm from Benavides, Texas, okay? And everybody knows, I think, where Benavides is. It's about 64 miles southwest of Corpus Christi. And I was raised back in the days when it was like in the 50s and 60s. I don't want to give out my age without giving out my too much of my age. It was a very nice community. We were all about people helping each other. And so I was raised with another 7 brothers and sisters. My dad worked in the oil field. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. My grandfather owned a little grocery store, Cayetano Canales. A lot of people know him.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we lived in a little a community where it was all about church and school. And so that was a priority in our life. And my folks, my dad was working in the oil fields, like I said, taught me the value of hard work, faith, and really all about, it's all about family. So that's what I bring to the table. This is what I want, the values that I want to take to Washington. So because we really need a lot of help right now. Middle class families are falling apart, and they're not getting the help that they need. Right now we've got my opponent who continually votes for only the top 2%. So he keeps on voting for things that help the most wealthy in our nation, the top 2%. Yes. And we need to take care of, and this is the trickle down economics that you keep on hearing.
It doesn't work.
Since the Reagan, since Reagan and the Bush administrations, it's not working. It doesn't work. So we need something else, and that's why we need to really concentrate on the middle class, make sure that they have jobs, so that our economy can start making improvements.
Well, and very well said. Let me tell you, you've been knocking on hundreds, if not thousands, of doors by now. Your district, so people will know that are casting their vote, and this is on the internet and being shared. Where is your district from?
Okay, my district starts at Nueces County, where it's at the bottom.
Yes.
And it goes north towards Austin and Houston. Goes all the way up towards Bastrop.
Gosh.
It's 13 counties in all,
wow.
And Matagorda County. So it's been a very long. I started in September of last year.
You might as well run for governor. I mean, almost the whole state,
yes.
Near Houston too. Wow.
And remember, during the redistricting dilemma,
yes,
we started going south. We were going to go south, and so I was campaigning a little while from Nueces County all the way to Brownsville. And then they decided, no, this isn't the way it's going to go. It's going to go north. So then I started going up, So it was a change, from south to north. And now that it's going north, there's a lot more counties involved in, and a lot more rural that you have to go through. Like, for example, I've got only half of Caldwell, half of Bastrop, half of Gonzales, Lavaca County, and Jackson County.
Yes.
And so that's a lot of rural counties. So there's a lot of rural in there. The largest cities are Victoria, Corpus Christi, we've got Port Lavaca, and Bay City. Those are the largest populated cities in this district.
You've got farmers, you've got conservative whites, you've got staunch Republicans, you've got independents in those areas too. How are you reaching that voter? You have your base, like they say, but you have to spring forward and get those people and get votes to win and be victorious over your opponent. You're going to have to overcome that. So what have you been doing to spread the word when they say, well, I'm Republican, I'm the one pulling the palanca or the lever for a Republican, I'm not going to change my mind, why should I shift over and vote for you?
Well, they need to shift over and vote for me because we're trying to get the word out that our current congressman is not working for middle-class families. He's not voting for jobs. In fact, he voted on a bill that would do away with 800,000 jobs.
What was that?
He voted against the Bring Jobs Home Act.
Yes.
If you're familiar with that, he
Yes.
voted against that. He voted against other things that would hurt. He is not all the time he's been in office. He hasn't voted on one jobs bill, and that's what we need here.
Who are his supporters? Follow the money. Who is providing the support
right now,
to him?
He is the Tea Party. Okay, he's with the Tea Party Republicans, and that's who he has been voting for.
We've seen the result of that, haven't
right,
we?
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's who he's voting for, and he's following 95% of the votes that he has been making is he's following with the Tea Party Republicans. Whatever they decide, whatever, I like to call him Bonehead, says that he needs to go, he's voting in that direction. He's not voting for the people in the district. We need jobs. The veterans need help. He's voting against veterans. He's voted to defund the Veterans Administration. He's voting against women. In the Paul Ryan budget plan, there's a lot of cuts to education. We need funding for education here, especially in South Texas. You know that in Texas, 1 out of 4 children drops out from school before high school. And so we need to start putting more money in our education
And the rate's
system,
higher with Hispanics.
Yes, Pell Grants. He voted against things that would help Pell Grants. Our kids need Pell Grants so they can get higher access to higher education. These are the things that really help our district, the people in the middle class. Social Security and Medicare and Social Security are very important for our seniors. In the Paul Ryan's budget, it's basically voucherizing, Medicare, and we can't let this happen to our seniors, to let them loose and go on the market to find their own insurance. I don't think
that's just ridiculous.
You
need a social worker full time for most of these people. I go out there. I went to a home in Odom where the people are living and half their roof is gone. You can literally see the stars outside. And I had no choice. I had to call adult protective and say, we got to get that senior out of there. And it was a hard choice to make, but it's the law. The person was going to be exposed to the elements, wild animals, and that was their home. But there's utter poverty, abject poverty, and there's limited resources.
Joe, so I think that you're from Alice, right? Mm-hmm. Originally, I'm from Benavides, and I think how families live around that area. It's not too far from what's going on right now here in Oasis County and all over our district. Seniors are living paycheck to paycheck on their Social Security and Medicare alone. They are barely making it. My mother is 82 years old, and she was taking care of my Aunt Mariana, who used to be a nurse over at PNS Alice Hospital. Remember that?
Yes.
And she got Alzheimer's. And with the Social Security income she had, she could not afford to be put in a home that would take care of Alzheimer's, because it's a little more expensive when you have that kind of condition. So my mother took her in at her home, and she started caring for her at home. She says, Rose, you need to tell your congressman, I'm telling my congressman, I can't do without Social Security and Medicare that I receive now. If I did, I don't know where I would be. I would be out on the streets, and so would your Tia Maria.
What's your concrete plan when you go up there to Washington if the voters choose to decide for you in the first 90 days of your administration as congressperson? What would you do?
The number one thing I want to do, and I want to work on, Joe, is education. We really need to we need to invest in education, not defund education. This is the federal government right now spends only 4% out of its budget is allocated towards education. We need more of that for education. As you can see the results right now in Texas, our teachers are being, let go, and classroom size is getting larger. That is not helping our students graduate. I want to see that we have more vocational and technical schools in every high school. I'd like to see that in at least every high school, to give our kids the opportunity to at least have a skill when they graduate from high school, so that they may have maybe an associate's degree with it, and offer them a skill, so that when they graduate they have a skill and a job. Right now there's so many kids that are dropping out, not graduating from high school, and they're ending up in the streets. And guess what? Guess where they end up? They end up in our prisons and jail system that costs us, the taxpayers, it costs $50,000 to keep a child in the prison system, where it just costs $10,000 to educate them. So it makes sense. It makes good economic sense that if we start investing and putting more money into our education system, we are going to have kids that are going to graduate from high school with a skill or some kind of, they'll be ready, they'll be college ready to do whatever they want to do when they graduate from high school.
Well, let me ask you this. For the conservatives that you need their vote too, they're going to say, well, that costs all money, ma'am. I mean, that costs a lot of money. Okay, who's going to pay for all that? Am I going to pay for that? My taxes? You know what they think about? I don't want to pay more taxes. And then they'll say, more bars, more prisons. A lot of people like that think like up there near Houston. From my experience, even here. So how do you respond to that?
Well, we're going to have to go with a balanced budget approach. We can't only do cuts, and that's right now the Tea Party Republicans believe that that's the only way to balance the budget right now is just let's cut spending. That can't work. You can't do that. So we've got to go to the table and look and negotiate and see just exactly what we can cut and what we're going to have to tax.
In other words, you're not just going to have lunch with Nancy Pelosi.
No.
You're going to be reaching across the aisle.
Exactly. I'm going to be reaching across the aisles. We know that the wealthy have to pay their fair share. Even Warren Buffett said that he's paying less taxes than his own secretary. So there's got to be some kind of a balanced approach.
Right.
We can't just go with tax and spending on the backs of the middle class people. We're going to have to make sure that the most wealthy pay their fair share too, in order to balance this entire budget.
Well, and I know you've done it so many times before, but let's pretend that you just knocked on a door there near Bastrop, right? And at the camera or me or whatever knocking on a couple of million doors. I need your vote. And what would you tell them if they say, look, my mind's made up. I'm sorry, you're a very nice lady, but I'm going to go with your opponent. What would you tell them to convince them differently?
I would say, whoever it is, Joe or Mary, look, you've got to realize that what my opponent is voting for right now, what he's been voting for is against middle class, things that help the middle class. You got to look at your Social Security and Medicare. Are you dependent on Social Security and Medicare? If you are, then you need to vote for me. Are you paying high tuition? If you're paying high tuition and you want to see if you want to see more accessibility and availability for education, then you need to vote for me because he's not. If you're a veteran, then you need to vote for me because he's been voting to defund those things that help veterans. He is voting against all those things that help you and your families. You need to make sure that when you vote in November, you vote for Rose Meza Harrison because she's going to be on your side. She's got your back, and she's going to make sure that she represents you well in Washington.
All right. I just heard like a bunch of people at home do this. Okay, Rose Meza Harrison, and remind me, the district is now 27, right?
Right.
Okay, so don't forget to get out there and vote. Exercise your right to vote. And this lady, I can tell you, works very hard and has been out there and has asked for the vote very humbly to you right now. And if you're watching near Houston or right down here in Corpus Christi, get out there and cast your vote. Get involved. Remember, your vote is your voice. Recuerda que su voto es su voz. Si no votas, no puedes quejar después. Okay, so this is Joe Flores signing off. We're going to take a brief break, but I want to thank you once again, Rose Meza Harrison, running for Congress.
Thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah. God, I know you're busy, so yes. I'll let you get back to campaigning.
Thank you so much.
We'll be back.
I think it's a betrayal of public trust. That is just not ethical.
I left the Democratic Party because of her.
The reason is because you're taking Republican money.
The money of those people that pay me as a consultant. What are you taking? What did you take in Crosstown? Took money. I saw it and I saw them pay your checks.
Okay, hold on. Everybody.
Have you been arrested or are potentially facing criminal charges? You need a trial attorney who is well-versed in the courtroom. Joe Flores has handled hundreds of criminal cases and many of them to trial. Joe Flores can provide you with competent representation to protect your constitutional rights in state and federal court. Joe Flores can help if you have been arrested or facing criminal charges. The law offices of Joe Flores. equal justice for all.